You are not hearing this because the world is about to end. You are hearing it because the version of you built to survive the old world is reaching the end of its assignment. What comes next will not erase your future. It will expose every part of you that still believes fear must lead. You have felt the pressure building. It appears in quiet moments and follows you into sleep. You sense that something is changing, but its shape remains hidden. The mind hates uncertainty, so it often turns mystery into danger before the truth arrives. Everyone is going to be wiped out does not mean people are about to vanish. It does not mean punishment is coming. It means old identities are losing power, and many people will not know who they are without them. You may already see this inside yourself. A goal matters deeply, yet you delay. An opportunity appears, yet you freeze. You know what should be said, but the right words arrive hours later. Then you blame your discipline, your age, your energy, or your faith. But your inconsistency is not proof that your gift disappeared. One part of you sees the path, another part scans for danger. One part wants expansion, another part protects the life you already know. This is the first glimpse of the divided receiver. The divided receiver can recognize a door and still refuse to touch it. It can understand a lesson and still repeat the pattern. It can feel a strong inner pull, then bury that clarity under endless questions. Here is the first breakthrough. What you call spiritual blockage may sometimes be internal conflict. What you call bad timing may sometimes be hesitation. What you call lost potential may sometimes be intelligence scattered across competing reactions. This does not make your experience fake. It makes it understandable. But you cannot carry an old survival pattern into a new season and expect it to create a new life. Before this message ends, 3 things will become clear. You will understand what is actually being wiped out. You will see why you can feel ready and unready together. And you will learn to separate calm inner knowing from fear wearing a spiritual mask. The final step is not another prediction or ritual. It concerns the condition of the receiver, because even a real opportunity can be missed by a divided mind. Think about the last time you knew what to do. Maybe you needed to send a message, begin a project, or leave a situation that had already ended in your heart. You had the answer, but you could not reach the part of you that could act. That gap is where years disappear. It is where confidence becomes memory. It is where a person keeps preparing for a life they never fully enter. That is why what comes next matters more than another burst of motivation. Write this below if it feels true. I am ready for the final step. Do not write it as magic. Write it as a decision to stay present, examine the mechanism, and stop confusing emotional intensity with truth. Now hold one question. Why did many people feel more creative, curious, and mentally alive when they were younger? The answer may reveal what life trained you to suppress and distrust. You are standing before an open door, yet part of you still carries the rules of the room you are leaving. Next, we will name what is disappearing, and why its disappearance may feel like loss before it feels like freedom. The quiet wipeout has already begun, not in the sky and not in some hidden calendar. It is happening wherever an old way of living stops producing the safety it once promised. You can feel it when habits that once helped you survive now make you smaller. Some people hear the word ending and imagine destruction. Others imagine punishment. Many assume only a special group will escape, but that interpretation gives fear too much authority, and it distracts from the change happening closer to home. The quiet wipeout is the loss of control once held by outdated patterns, the habit of delaying until certainty arrives, the need for approval before action, the identity built around being misunderstood, the belief that struggle proves something matters. That is why change can feel like loss. You may stop chasing people who once defined your value. You may feel tired of explaining yourself. At first, this looks like emptiness, because the old identity is fading before the new one feels solid. Do not confuse that emptiness with failure. It may be space. It may be the first quiet place where a different response can appear. The old pattern is not being removed to punish you. It is being exposed because it cannot carry the life you are building. Ask yourself 3 honest questions. What once helped me survive but now keeps me small? Where am I calling the unfamiliar dangerous? Which decision am I delaying because I want absolute certainty first? The old method may not fail loudly. It may simply stop working. You push harder and receive less. You consume more guidance and feel less clear. You ask for another sign, while ignoring the action already waiting in front of you. Later, we will return to a discovery connected to neurological research. It may help explain why someone can understand the right path and still struggle to move toward it consistently. It does not require hours of meditation, and it is not presented as a common sound method found online. Its creators describe it as a short daily auditory sequence designed to support communication across the brain. We will examine what it is, what it claims, and where caution matters. But first, hold one question. What if the final barrier is not outside you, but in the way the receiver learned to divide itself? Old identities do not disappear without resistance. A pattern can fight for survival, even when you want to change. It will call fear wisdom. It will call avoidance timing. It will call familiar pain safer than unfamiliar possibility. You do not defeat that pattern by hating it. You outgrow it by seeing what it does. You notice when it speaks. You test its predictions. You stop giving it sacred authority because it speaks with urgency. What replaces the old way is not blind confidence. It is steadier awareness. It can feel fear without obeying it. It can notice uncertainty without turning it into disaster. It can move through a small open door without demanding a map of the entire future. This is the beginning of freedom. Yet freedom often feels strange before it feels safe. Next, we will return to the natural creativity many people remember from childhood, and why it seemed to fade as life became more divided. You did not lose your gift. You learned to distrust it, suppress it, and question it whenever it tried to lead you somewhere unfamiliar. As a child, you could imagine without permission. You could follow curiosity for hours. You could connect ideas before anyone explained which thoughts were practical and which ones should be dismissed. Now you may remember being more alive before adulthood demanded constant caution. You may remember drawing, building, writing, questioning, or dreaming without asking whether the result would impress anyone. That memory can feel painful because it seems to belong to another person. But the gift is not gone. The channel became crowded. One part of you still sees possibilities. Another part calculates every risk. One part wants to create. Another part remembers criticism. One part feels called forward. Another part demands proof before taking a single step. This is the divided receiver in daily life. It is not a diagnosis. It is a pattern. You know what matters, but action does not follow. You understand the lesson, but the old reaction arrives first. You sense an opportunity, but hesitation speaks with greater volume. You are not necessarily lazy. You may be overloaded. You are not necessarily weak. You may be protecting yourself from an old consequence. You are not necessarily blocked by fate. You may be repeating a learned response that once reduced pain. The final step begins when the divided receiver is no longer mistaken for who you are. You are the awareness that can see the conflict. You are the one who can notice which part speaks first, which part gets ignored, and which part never receives enough safety to act. Think about a recent moment when you knew what to do but did not do it. Do not judge the decision. Study the sequence. What did you feel first? What story appeared next? What consequence did your mind predict? Which part of you took control? Fear will still try to turn the pattern into a sentence. It will say, "You are too old." It will say, "You missed your moment." It will say, "Other people can change, but you cannot." It will call hesitation, wisdom, and surrender maturity. Do not argue with fear for hours. Ask what evidence it has. Ask what small action would test its prediction. Ask whether the danger belongs to this moment, or whether your body is remembering another one. Write this below if you are ready to stop treating the pattern as your identity. My gift is not gone. Let that sentence become a reminder, not a spell. Then write down one recent situation where you knew the next step but delayed it. The purpose is not shame. The purpose is recognition. You are learning where the signal becomes distorted. You are learning how clarity turns into doubt, and how doubt becomes delay before you even notice the change. There is one danger here. Not every strong feeling is intuition. Not every urgent thought is guidance. Intensity can feel sacred when the nervous system is overwhelmed. A person can feel completely certain and still be reacting from fear. That is the next threshold. You must learn the difference between calm knowing and anxiety wearing a spiritual mask, because what comes next will require discernment, not panic, and the quality of that discernment will shape every decision that follows. You can feel certain and still be wrong. That truth is uncomfortable, but it protects you from fear disguised as guidance. Intensity is not evidence. Urgency is not proof. A thought can arrive with force because your nervous system is overwhelmed, not because the future has spoken. So how do you tell the difference? Begin with the way each message moves through you. Anxiety repeats itself. It circles the same danger. It demands an answer before you can breathe, and it turns one possible outcome into a disaster that already feels certain. Calm knowing behaves differently. It is often brief. It may be serious, but it does not need to threaten you. It points toward one clear step, while leaving room for questions, evidence, and a change of mind. Fear contracts the body. Your jaw tightens, your chest becomes heavy, your thoughts race toward every possible loss. Then the mind searches for more content, more signs, and more voices that can confirm the danger it has already chosen. Discernment creates space. You may still feel nervous, but you can observe the feeling. You can ask questions. You can wait long enough to see whether the message becomes clearer when your body is no longer fighting an invisible emergency. Use 3 questions whenever a message feels urgent. Does this feeling become clearer when my body settles? Is it asking for one specific action, or only asking me to remain afraid? What evidence in my real life supports what I believe is happening? These questions do not destroy intuition. They protect it. True guidance does not become weaker when examined. A useful warning can survive. A calm breath, a practical question, and a careful look at the facts. Now apply that test to the words "everyone is going to be wiped out." The sentence creates force. It catches attention. But emotional force does not make a literal prediction true, and you should never surrender judgment because a message sounds dramatic. The deeper meaning is not that people will vanish. It is that old identities and failed patterns will lose their power. That claim can be examined inside your own life, because you can observe what no longer works and what fear keeps trying to preserve. You do not need to believe me. You do not need to buy anything to use this test. The purpose is to return your authority, so no voice or frightening title can make decisions that belong to you. Picture a real opportunity arriving next month. It could be a project, a conversation, or a new direction. The old pattern either rushes forward blindly or retreats before learning anything. The clearer mind does something else. It pauses. It gathers facts. It notices excitement without worshipping it. It notices fear without obeying it. Then it chooses one measured action that reveals more information instead of demanding certainty about the entire future. That is discernment in motion. It is not passive. It is not cold. It allows instinct and evidence to work together while protecting you from the emotional storms that once controlled your timing. But one question remains. Why can a person understand all of this, agree with every word, and still return to the same divided state tomorrow? Because insight alone does not always change the condition in which insight must operate. You can know the truth and still be exhausted. You can recognize fear and still follow it. You can see the next step and still lose access to action when pressure rises. This is why the final step concerns the condition of the receiver. A signal can be present while the receiver remains unable to use it. An opportunity can be real while the mind is too divided to recognize its value. This does not prove that fate is against you. It reveals why readiness involves more than desire. Think of an open door. You can see it. You may even know where it leads. But if every part of you is pulling in a different direction, the door remains open while your life stays exactly where it was. You may have already completed the hardest stages. You admitted that the old life could not continue. You separated from people, habits, or environments that kept you small. You learned the language of boundaries, healing, awareness, and personal responsibility. Yet one stage remains. Insight, emotion, judgment, and action must stop moving in 4 directions. This is the last threshold. It is the point where knowing becomes usable, because the receiver becomes stable enough to respond. That is why more information has not always helped. You can collect answers faster than you can integrate them. You can understand a lesson intellectually, while another part of you still expects danger whenever change becomes real. The final step is not waiting for one more sign. It is becoming able to respond differently when the sign, opportunity, or decision appears. You do not need perfect confidence. You need enough internal cooperation to take the next honest step. Earlier, I told you we would return to a neurological discovery connected to the gap between knowing and doing. I waited because a solution means very little before the problem has a clear shape. Now the shape is visible. The problem is not that you have no potential. Potential must pass through a receiver that modern life can leave distracted, exhausted, and internally divided. The method we are about to examine is presented as support for that condition, not as proof of your worth or destiny. Before that reveal, notice what has already changed. You can name the quiet wipeout. You can recognize the divided receiver. You can test urgent thoughts instead of automatically calling them intuition. This is cognitive closure. You are not missing one secret sentence. You are not waiting for a perfect spiritual signal. You are learning that clarity must become available under pressure, or it remains an idea that disappears when life becomes difficult. Write this below. I choose clarity over fear. Do not use it as an activation phrase. Use it as a conscious decision to slow down, examine evidence, and stop allowing emotional force to define what is true. The next section will answer practical questions. What is the method? How is it described as different from common audio tracks? How is it used? What does it cost? What protection does the offer provide? You will also hear where caution matters. No tool should be presented as a savior. No purchase should replace sleep, medical care, honest reflection, or practical action. A trustworthy decision must survive careful examination. Now the loop can close, because the final step has a name. It is the condition of the receiver. And the tool we are about to examine was created around one central idea: that clearer coordination inside the brain may support clearer expression outside it. The method is called the genius switch. It is presented as a targeted auditory sequence that takes 8 minutes a day. Its creators call the core approach neural sync technology, and they describe its purpose as supporting whole brain activation. The idea is simple. Daily life may leave important mental functions poorly coordinated. The program claims that its audio sequence can support communication across the brain, helping users access clearer thinking, creativity, and action. Its story refers to split brain research connected with Dr. Sperry. It also introduces Dr. Daniel Barone as a neurologist in New York City. These references explain the background used by the program, but they do not guarantee every claim or result. The Genius Switch is not presented as a common brainwave track. It is not described as the kind of free audio people find on YouTube, Spotify, or Amazon. The creators position it as a specific daily sequence. Put on headphones, close your eyes, relax, and listen for 8 minutes each day. Missing one day does not mean failure. Return to the routine without turning consistency into pressure. The program does not require left nostril breathing, an expensive neurofeedback machine, a mantra, or hours of meditation. You can still meditate or practice yoga, but neither activity is required. The offer includes user stories. Lisa, a nurse in San Diego, describes moving from feeling that life happened to her toward a stronger sense of direction. Matthew, a Shopify owner in Houston, is used to illustrate clearer business thinking and new ideas. These are testimonials, not promises. Their experiences do not guarantee the same outcome for every listener. Your response may differ, so any honest evaluation should focus on what actually changes in daily life. This is not for everyone. It is for the person tired of collecting information while remaining unable to turn insight into consistent action. It is for someone willing to test a simple tool without expecting a miracle. You are not being asked to worship a method. Purchasing does not prove you are chosen. You are being invited to examine whether this 8-minute practice belongs inside a process you already value. The program anchors its stated value at $500. The listed price is $49, while the current offer described on the page is $39. It includes lifetime access and digital delivery through email with no shipping fee. The offer is presented as available only through the official website. The page warns that the current price may change. Read the terms and decide based on fit, not panic. 4 bonuses are included. The first is a guided visualization focused on money, love, health, and happiness. It is described as coming from a creator with strong ratings on Calm. The second is a smart grocery shopping guide. It includes foods discussed in relation to brain fog and saving tips. Treat it as general educational material, not medical advice. The third is a classic manifestation book published more than 100 years ago. The fourth is a 5 habits infographic that can be printed and placed somewhere visible. The offer also includes a 100% money-back guarantee. According to the product information, it is not limited by how many times you have listened. Review the exact policy on the official checkout page before purchasing. If the divided receiver reflects your experience, the official Genius Switch page is linked below. Examine the details. Review the guarantee. Decide without fear, because the final step is not proving belief. It is choosing whether this tool deserves a place in your routine. Whether you try it or not, do not abandon the principle learned here. No audio sequence can replace sleep, medical care, honest reflection, or practical decisions. The Genius Switch is presented as a tool, not a savior. The most trustworthy decision is made without panic or borrowed certainty. Keep your ability to evaluate your experience. Watch for clearer action, steadier attention, and better follow-through, rather than chasing a dramatic feeling. A tool only matters when you know what to observe after using it. Next, we will identify the practical signs that the final step is becoming real in ordinary life, where change must prove itself. The first sign is not a miracle, it is a pause. Something happens, and you notice a small space before the old reaction takes control. That space may last only seconds, but it gives you a choice you did not have before. The second sign is practical. An idea stops being a private feeling and becomes one clear action. You send the message. You write the first page. You schedule the meeting. Insight enters the calendar, where real change can be observed. The third sign is completion. You open fewer tasks and finish more of them. Your attention returns faster after distraction, and you stop confusing constant movement with progress. The mind feels less scattered because it is not chasing every possibility at once. The fourth sign appears in conversation. You listen without preparing a defense. You remember what matters. You can feel emotion without losing the purpose of the moment, and you can speak honestly without turning disagreement into a threat. These changes may seem ordinary. That is why they matter. A dramatic feeling can disappear by morning, but a better response in an ordinary moment reveals whether your inner condition is becoming more stable. Begin with internal stabilization. Protect your sleep. Reduce unnecessary content. Write decisions down instead of carrying them all day. Use the 3-question discernment test whenever urgency starts speaking louder than evidence. If you choose the genius switch, follow the simple protocol. Wear headphones, close your eyes, relax, and listen for 8 minutes. Do not force an experience. Do not measure success by emotion or a sudden rush of certainty. Then move into external application. Choose one decision you have delayed. Identify the smallest action that can produce real information. Take that step and observe what happens without demanding a perfect outcome. This two-wave process matters. Internal clarity without action becomes another private idea. Action without stability can become another cycle of pressure. The goal is cooperation between the inner condition and the outer choice. If you have tried meditation, affirmations, or many audio methods before, do not judge this tool by excitement during the first session. Judge it by consistency, clearer decisions, and better follow-through afterward. Avoid stacking many new methods together. When everything changes at once, you cannot tell what is helping. Keep the experiment simple enough to evaluate honestly and watch for observable changes in daily life. The official Genius Switch link remains below for anyone who wants to examine the full page, the current offer, and the guarantee. The method asks for 8 minutes. Your evaluation should ask for honesty. Write this below. I will test what is true. Let that sentence remind you that no title, teacher, or product should replace your judgment. Now, picture a difficult conversation. You are not preparing a weapon while the other person speaks. You notice the old defense, but you do not hand it control. You remember what you want to say, and you stay present enough to hear the answer. That is not perfection. It is integration. The final step does not prove itself by making you feel chosen. It proves itself through the way you live, inside moments that once pulled you apart. And now, the deepest question can be answered. What will actually be wiped out when the old pattern can no longer control the receiver? What will be wiped out is not your future. It is the authority of patterns that kept you alive in one season and trapped you in the next. The change may feel severe because those patterns have spoken in your voice for years. The need for approval can lose its power. The habit of waiting for certainty can weaken. You may stop calling procrastination divine timing. You may stop using pain as proof that your path matters. You may stop consuming frightening messages just to feel that something meaningful is happening. Another pattern can disappear. It is the version of you who is always preparing to begin. That identity studies every door, collects every key, and imagines every future, but never remains present long enough to enter one. Spiritual language can no longer be used to avoid practical decisions. Logic can no longer be used to silence every emotion. Insight and execution must stop living as strangers inside the same life. This is the quiet wipeout. It is not violence against who you are. It is the gradual loss of authority held by reactions that no longer deserve to lead. Some things remain. Your humanity remains. Your right to question remains. Your right to reject any product remains. Your judgment does not need to be surrendered. The final step is not obedience to a voice outside you. It is greater cooperation among the parts already living within you. Here is the ultimate reframe. The final step is not receiving one last secret. It is becoming the kind of receiver who no longer needs fear to recognize what matters. Anything sacred enough to guide you does not need panic to control you. A real opportunity does not become false because you pause and examine it. Faith and discernment can exist together, while humility protects both from illusion. Now the primary loop can close. What is coming next is a stage of life that demands greater inner cooperation. The final step is restoring the condition that allows insight to become action. What gets wiped out is the old authority of division. The creativity you remember from childhood does not prove that you were once a hidden genius. It reminds you that curiosity moved with less fear before every mistake became evidence against your worth. You are not the fear. You are not the delay. You are not the divided pattern. You are the awareness capable of observing it, testing it, and choosing a response that does not repeat the past. The old reaction may still appear. Let it appear. Its presence does not give it authority. A pattern can speak without being obeyed, and a feeling can be honored without becoming a command. Identity changes through repeated moments when the old voice speaks and you choose a clearer action. Every honest choice weakens the belief that division is permanent. When the old pattern loses power, an empty space may remain. Do not rush to fill it with another identity or prediction. Let that space show you that constant fear is no longer required. The question is no longer what will be wiped out. You know the answer now. The question is what you will build when the old pattern no longer controls the receiver. You have reached the final threshold. The warning has become an invitation. The ending has become an opening. And the person standing there is not waiting to be rescued anymore. There is no prophecy of destruction here. There is no condemned group. There is no product that can replace your judgment. You have seen how the divided receiver forms. You have seen how fear can imitate guidance. You have seen how clarity becomes useful only when it survives pressure and enters action. And if you choose to examine the genius switch, do it with the same discernment. It is presented as an 8-minute daily auditory sequence designed around whole brain activation. It is a tool, not a savior. Now, make this declaration your own. I am not waiting for fear to tell me who I am. I am not confusing urgency with truth. I release the identity that recognizes every door, but refuses to walk through one. My mind is allowed to become clear. My creativity is allowed to return without pressure. My discernment is allowed to remain calm. I do not need to predict the entire future to take the next honest step. What no longer serves my life can lose its authority without destroying me. I enter the next season awake, grounded, and responsible for the choices that are mine. The official Genius Switch page is linked below for anyone who wants to review it. The program describes a simple 8-minute protocol, digital delivery, lifetime access, 4 bonuses, and a current offer of $39. The offer also describes a money-back guarantee. Review the official terms carefully. Check the current price and conditions for yourself, because responsible decisions should never depend on pressure or borrowed certainty. If the explanation of the divided receiver reflects what you have experienced, you can decide whether this tool belongs in the process you already value. Purchasing does not prove belief. Refusing does not make you less chosen. Read the page, examine the guarantee, consider your needs, then decide without panic, because the final step is not surrendering your judgment, it is using it with greater clarity. Write this below if it expresses your decision. The old pattern ends with me. Do not treat those words as a spell. Do not use them to deny your past. Use them as a commitment to stop giving old reactions automatic authority. The old pattern may return tomorrow. That does not mean you failed. Notice it. Name it. Ask what evidence it has. Then choose the smallest clear action that keeps your life moving in the direction you respect. Picture yourself standing before the door again. There is no alarm, no crowd is running, no voice is demanding that you prove your worth before time disappears. There is only enough silence for you to notice something important. Your hand has been resting on the handle for a long time. The door was never asking for a perfect person. It was waiting for a present one, chosen one. What comes next does not require perfection. It requires presence. The world you knew may be changing, but you are not being erased. You are being asked to arrive whole,